My wife claimed women don't need male validation, so I validated her single status. Be careful what you wish for. Update 1. You know that moment when your wife looks you dead in the eye and says, "Women don't need male validation," for the 15th time this week. Yeah, that was my Tuesday. But here's the thing, she kept saying it while desperately seeking my reaction every single time. It started about 6 months ago when she joined this women's empowerment group downtown. Suddenly every conversation became a lecture about female independence. I come home from work, ask about her day, and she'd respond with some variation of how she doesn't need my approval for anything anymore. I'm thinking of repainting the living room. I mentioned one evening looking at the faded walls we both complained about for months. Women don't need male validation for decorating choices. She shot back, not even looking up from her phone. I already ordered the paint, bright purple, for our living room, without asking, but that was just the beginning. When I suggested we grab dinner at that Italian place we both loved, she'd roll her eyes and declare she didn't need a man to choose her food. When I complimented her new haircut, she'd lecture me about how women don't dress for male attention. When I tried to help her carry groceries, suddenly I was being patronizing and reinforcing patriarchal stereotypes. The irony was rich. Here she was constantly announcing her independence for male validation while making sure I heard every single declaration. If she truly didn't need my validation, why was she working so hard to get a rise out of me? I watched her scroll through social media liking posts about strong independent women and sharing memes about not needing men. Yet every few minutes she'd glance up to see if I was paying attention to her latest feminist revelation. You know what I realized today? She announced during dinner, setting down her fork dramatically. Marriage is just a patriarchal institution designed to control women. We're basically living in an outdated system. I kept eating my pasta waiting for the punchline that never came. She was serious. I've been reading about how women throughout history were forced into these roles, she continued, gesturing wildly. And now I understand that I don't need male validation to feel complete as a person. That's interesting, I replied, taking another bite. Pass the salt. She stared at me like I just asked her to explain quantum physics. This wasn't the reaction she wanted. She wanted me to argue, to defend marriage, to prove her point about controlling men. Instead, I just wanted the salt. Over the next few weeks, the declarations became more frequent, more pointed. She'd announce her independence while doing things she'd always done, like choosing her own clothes or deciding what to watch on TV. Suddenly these normal adult behaviors became revolutionary acts of feminism. I'm going out with the girls tonight, she'd declare, and I don't need permission from any man. I never asked where she was going or when she'd be back. I'd just nod and continue whatever I was doing. But somehow my lack of interrogation became another problem. You don't even care that I'm asserting my independence, she complained one morning over coffee. Should I asked, genuinely curious. That simple question launched into a 20-minute speech about supportive partnerships and emotional intelligence. Apparently I was supposed to celebrate her independence while also being concerned about it. The mental gymnastics were impressive. The real kicker came when she started making financial decisions without discussion. Our joint savings account became her personal empowerment fund. She bought a new laptop, enrolled in expensive online courses, and treated herself to a spa weekend, all while reminding me that strong women make their own financial choices. When our credit card bill arrived, and I raised an eyebrow at the charges, she went nuclear. This is exactly what I'm talking about, she snapped, waving the statement in the air. You think you can control my spending because you're a man? Well, newsflash, women don't need male validation for their financial decisions. I looked at the numbers, $3,000 in 1 month on things we'd never discussed. You're right, I said calmly. Strong independent women definitely make their own financial decisions. They also pay their own bills. The color drained from her face. For a moment, the feminist warrior facade cracked and I saw something else underneath. Panic. That's not what I meant. She backtracked quickly. We're married. We share expenses. Absolutely, I agreed. We share expenses we both agree on. But since you don't need male validation for your choices, I assume you don't need male funding either. She stared at me, mouth slightly open. This wasn't going according to her script. Her empowerment group hadn't covered this scenario. What happens when your husband actually agrees with your independence? That night, she was unusually quiet. No declarations about female empowerment. No lectures about patriarchal systems, just silence, and the occasional glance in my direction like she was trying to figure out what had changed. But I knew exactly what had changed. I'd stopped playing her game. For months, I'd been the perfect target. The husband who was supposed to react, argue, and prove her point about controlling men. But what happens when you remove the target? She was about to find out what real independence looked like, and something told me she wasn't going to like the lesson. The quiet didn't last long. By the end of the week, she doubled down on her independence campaign with a vengeance. If I thought her previous declarations were bold, I was about to learn what real audacity looked like. She started with the house. I came home Thursday to find our bedroom completely rearranged. The bed was against a different wall, our dresser had been moved, and she'd somehow managed to relocate our heavy oak nightstands by herself. The room looked like a furniture tornado had hit it. Wow, I said, surveying the chaos. This is different. I don't need male input on interior design, she announced proudly, hands on her hips. Women have been decorating spaces for centuries without male interference. The irony wasn't lost on me that she was standing there waiting for my reaction while claiming she didn't need it. but I just nodded and grabbed a clean shirt from the dresser that was now blocking half the closet. Makes sense, I replied, though you might want to measure next time. The dresser's covering the air vent. Her triumphant smile faltered slightly, but she recovered quickly. That's just minor details. The important thing is that I made this decision independently. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.